Hi there! If you're listening to this while folding laundry, pouring yourself a cup of tea, or simply scrolling through YouTube because you can't bear to look at that cluttered table right now, welcome. I'm someone who used to think, all I need is one good weekend, or maybe just one more shelf, and I'll finally get this place under control. Spoiler alert, that never happened. There was this one time I stood in my kitchen holding a colander and I just froze. There was no place to put it. And it wasn't because I hadn't been cleaning, I had, constantly, but nothing ever stayed clean. And that's what wore me down. Because the real problem wasn't just the clutter, it was the feeling that I was slowly losing control of my space, my time, my mind. So if you've ever looked around your home and quietly thought, I can't keep living like this, then this video is for you. I'm going to share 7 small, honest habits that actually helped me shift things without making my life harder. And the first one, it started with a bare countertop and ended up changing the way I felt about my whole kitchen. Tip 1, you don't need to organize the mess. You need to remove it. You know that moment when you're staring at your kitchen counter knowing it's technically clean, but it still feels messy. That's because we often try to organize clutter instead of giving ourselves permission to start with a blank slate. And most of the time, we don't need better storage. We need less stuff sitting there in the first place. The shift: clear one surface, completely no exceptions. Wipe it down, breathe, and leave it empty for just a few minutes. Then put back only the essentials you use every single day. Everything else, either store it out of sight or be honest, do you even want it? A real life shift. For me, it was the kitchen counter. I was spending nearly an hour every weekend cleaning it, but what I was really doing was relocating clutter from one side to the other. One weekend, I took everything off. The silence and space felt strange, but good. I only brought back 3 things: a knife block, a bottle of olive oil, and a spoon rest. That surface has stayed clean ever since, not because I'm tidier, but because now there's less to deal with in the first place. Next up, now that you've created space, what do you actually want to fill it with? Let's talk about how to stop storing things based on logic and start storing based on how you actually live. Tip 2. Don't store it where it should go. Store it where it makes life easier. We all think we're being clever by putting things in the right place. Right? Neat labeled, tucked away, logical. But here's the twist. That kind of logic is exactly why you end up digging through 3 drawers just to find the scissors. Organized isn't always the same as easy to live with. Try this instead. Pick one everyday item and move it to the place where your hands naturally go. Don't overthink it. Forget the manual. If you always reach left for your tea bags, why are they stored above the fridge? I used to keep my olive oil in a high cabinet far from the stove because that's where oils go. Every dinner I was stretching, knocking over spice jars, pulling out the bottle like I was cracking a safe. One day, I just put it in a nice bottle and left it next to the stove. That's it. Now cooking feels smoother, less interrupted, like the kitchen fits me, not the other way around. Next up, now that we're storing things where they make sense for real life, let's talk about how to declutter the places that make you feel the most stuck, starting with the one spot you secretly avoid. Tip 3. Start where it feels heavy. You know that one spot in your house that just bugs you every time you look at it. For me, it was this little paper pile on the kitchen counter. It wasn't huge, but every time I walked by it, I'd get this tight feeling like, ugh, I'm behind again. Bills, expired coupons, mail I never opened, just sitting there reminding me I'm not on top of things. And the weird part, I had bigger messes elsewhere. But that spot, that little stack of paper, was the one that made me feel the most stuck. So that's where I started. Not the room that looked messiest, not the one I thought I should clean, just the one that made me sigh every single day. I set a timer for 15 minutes, sorted it, tossed what I could, shredded what needed shredding, moved the rest out of the kitchen. And I'm telling you, that did more for my peace of mind than organizing any closet. Next up, Now that we've cleared just one thing that's been stealing mental space, let's talk about how to keep going without turning it into a whole weekend project. Tip 4, decluttering doesn't have to be a weekend project. If you're anything like me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are, you've probably said this before. I'll declutter when I have a full weekend, when work slows down, when I'm in the right headspace. Yeah, me too. I kept waiting for the perfect time, like this big chunk of open space would magically appear and I'd finally tackle the whole closet, or the entire pantry, or all the kitchen drawers in one go. But the truth is, that perfect time never came. And the longer I waited, the more that clutter just sat there quietly making everything feel harder. Eventually, I had to ask myself, what if I stopped treating decluttering like some massive life event and start treating it like brushing my teeth? Here's what I did instead: 15 minutes. That's it. One drawer, one bin, one tiny corner. Set a timer. No pressure to finish. No dramatic makeover. Just start. Let me give you an example. There's this one storage bin in my attic that I avoided for years. Literally, it was full of who knows what holiday leftovers, tangled cords, random junk I didn't want to face. One Saturday, I didn't clean the attic. I didn't make a plan. I just opened that one bin. 15 minutes later, I'd tossed a bunch, found a few things to donate, labeled the rest. Was the attic done? Nope. But I felt lighter, more in control. And, most importantly, I felt like I could actually do this. Next up, now that you know you don't need hours to make progress, let's look at one habit that pretends to be helpful, but quietly keeps your clutter right where it is. Tip 5, selling everything sounds smart, but it's keeping you stuck. For a long time, I told myself I'll sell this. It's still in good condition. I paid good money for it. And you know what happened? The clutter didn't leave. It just changed locations from the shelf to a donation bag that sat in the corner for months. Because deep down, selling it felt like a whole new project I wasn't ready for. Sound familiar? Here's the thing. Letting go is already hard. But when we add guilt and price tags and the pressure to make it worth something, we make it even harder. What helped me shift, I gave myself a rule. If it's worth under $50 and I'm not excited to sell it, it goes. Donate, gift, drop it off just out of the house. The stuff that's really worth listing, I give myself 1 week. If I haven't listed it by then, it gets donated too. Here's a real example. I had 3 bags of clothes to sell someday sitting in my hallway for, I kid you not, 8 months. Every time I walked past them, I felt a mix of guilt, failure, and resentment. The minute I dropped them off at a donation center, instant relief. And I never once wished I'd kept them to make a few bucks. Next up, letting go gets a lot easier when you remember why you're doing it. So let's talk about what motivates real, lasting change and what your clutter might really be saying about what matters most. Tip 6, you don't need more motivation. You need a reason that's yours. Here's something I've learned the hard way. Motivation fades fast. You might feel pumped after watching a decluttering video, maybe even this one. You might even clear a whole drawer or toss a bag of stuff. But then, what the laundry piles up. Your schedule gets full again. That one closet starts quietly swallowing things. And you're back where you started, wondering why the progress didn't stick. Here's what changed everything for me. I stopped waiting to feel like it. And I got really clear on why I wanted a simpler space in the first place. Not someone else's reason. Not a Pinterest dream. Mine. Here's my real why I wanted to walk into my home and feel like I could exhale. That's it. Not perfection, not aesthetics, just relief. And the more I held on to that feeling, the easier it became to let go of things that didn't support it. Here's a moment that made it real. I was standing in my living room one night, totally exhausted, and I realized I didn't have the energy to clean anything. But when I looked around, it wasn't that bad, because I'd already let go of so much. And that moment, that's what keeps me going. Not hype, not pressure, just that small sense of peace I'd been craving. Next up, knowing your why is powerful, but pairing it with action is what really changes things. Let's talk about the final piece, getting the clutter actually out of your house. Tip 7, decluttering isn't done until it's out of your house. Let's be honest, how many times have you decluttered and then just moved the stuff into a different corner? It feels productive in the moment. You made decisions, filled the bags, got things sorted. But then the donate pile sits by the door. The old lamp leans against the wall in the hallway. The get rid of box gets pushed to the back of the closet and stays there for 6 months. Here's what I had to accept. If it's still in your house, it's still clutter. What helped me move past that stall, I started making getting it out part of the process, not a separate step. When I declutter, I keep one box by the door. When it's full, I drop it off that same week, no exceptions. I even started putting bags straight in my trunk the moment I fill them. And honestly, my front hallway has stayed clearer ever since. Not because I declutter more often, but because I finish the job. A real moment for me, I used to keep a bag of donate later clothes in my closet, to the point where it became part of my closet. One day I realized I was storing clutter in the same space I was trying to simplify. I dropped it off that afternoon, and that one errand felt like a 10-pound weight lifted. To wrap it up, decluttering isn't about doing it all perfectly. It's about closing the loop and giving yourself the chance to finally enjoy the space you've worked so hard to reclaim. Tip 8, your brain loves a basket. Here's why you need a pretty little basket of your own instead of leaving everything scattered across your table or counter. Because when your eyes see 10 little things spread out on a surface, your brain reads it as clutter even if those things are useful. But when those same 10 items are tucked neatly into one basket, suddenly it looks calm, intentional, easy. Try this. Use a small basket tray or box to group things you use often in the place where you already use them. Think skincare on the dresser remote controls on the coffee table mail by the front door. Here's what changed for me. I used to have my skincare bottles all over my dresser. It wasn't a huge mess, but it never looked clean no matter how often I wiped it down. One day, I just grabbed a little tray and put everything inside. Same routine, same products, but now it felt like a system, not clutter. Why it works. Your brain doesn't have to process 10 separate objects, it sees one. And that tiny shift can make your whole space and your whole day feel quieter. Next up, speaking of quieting the noise. There's one phrase that keeps homes noisy and stuffed. Let's talk about the trap of just in case. Tip 9, let go of just in case. I used to hold on to so many things because of that one quiet little excuse. Just in case. Just in case I host a big dinner. Just in case I go hiking. Just in case I suddenly need 5 vases or 2 hand mixers or that one sweater I haven't worn in 4 winters. You get it. Just in case sounds responsible, but honestly, most of the time it's just fear in disguise. Fear of needing something and not having it. But more often than not, we're paying for that fear with space energy and peace of mind. Here's what helped me shift. I started asking one simple question. If I didn't have this and I needed it, how hard would it be to replace? If the answer is not that hard, it goes. Real life, real shift. I had this big heavy glass punch bowl I kept for special occasions. Used it maybe once in 8 years. But it took up half a shelf and annoyed me every time I had to reach around it. The day I let it go, I instantly felt like I had more kitchen, and I've never missed it. Next up. Now that we've loosened the grip of just in case, let's talk about something even more freeing, learning to be okay with good enough. Tip 10, forget perfect, go for peace. Let me tell you something that took me a long time to believe. You don't need matching bins. You don't need to label every drawer. You don't even need to finish every room. You just need it to feel a little lighter. Because when we chase perfect, we get stuck. We start thinking, if I can't do it right, I won't do it at all. If I can't make it pretty, it's not worth doing. If I can't finish, why bother starting? Here's what helped me shift. I stopped asking, is this done? And I started asking, does this feel better than before? That became my measure of success. Real life reminder, there's a drawer in my bathroom that's still kind of messy, but I got rid of the junk. I can find what I need. And it closes without a fight. That's good enough. And good enough is peaceful. Decluttering isn't about reaching some aesthetic finish line. It's about creating a space that feels like it supports your life, not one more thing you have to manage. So there you have it, 10 small, honest shifts that have helped me keep my space simpler and my mind a little quieter. Not perfect, not done once and for all, just better, lighter, more livable. And if you're sitting there wondering where to start, don't overthink it. Pick one surface, one drawer, one item you're tired of looking at. That's more than enough because you don't need a new organizing system or an aesthetic home makeover. You just need a few less things standing between you and your peace of mind. And if this kind of content makes your day feel even slightly more manageable, I'd love for you to stick around. Subscribe if you haven't. Share with someone who might need it. And leave a comment letting me know which one of these tips felt like something you could do today. I'll be back tomorrow with something I think you'll really like. It's a peek into the kinds of tiny habits that make clutter-free living feel effortless. The kind of stuff you barely notice, but that makes all the difference over time. You've got this truly, and I'll be right here whenever you need another nudge toward a life that feels lighter.